Hello everyone, this is Kristen Olson Stone. Today I'm going to show you how to paint this beautiful still life of tulips in a glass vase in this gorgeous room with a blue sofa and a very charming bright yellow tray. I love color, and these are my favorite Rembrandt professional watercolor paints. When I paint in watercolor, I typically paint from front to back or foreground to background. I like to get the center of interest done first. I'm starting with the red and pink tulips. The colors I'm using are quinacridone rose reddish, madder lake deep, rose, quinacridone purple bluish, and a bit of blue violet. I adore color. This is why I'm a painter. This is also why I have so many tubes of gorgeous colors of Rembrandt paints in my custom palette. In order to get the brightest colors in watercolor, you want to allow the paper to shine through in all the right places. It's important to mix only 2 or 3 colors at a time if you want bright luminous hues in your painting. To achieve this, it's helpful to be able to have a lot of colors at your disposal, so that much of the time you can use a single color straight out of the tube without having to mix. In my technique, I also like to put a single color down, and then while it's wet on the paper, drop another color in next to it and let them mix together. When I make a custom palette, I group my colors into color families of yellows, reds, blues, and greens. This is a 24 color metal tin case. It's small and easy to carry, and also perfect for my studio. I can fit 37 colors into this size case. I buy empty plastic half pans and fill them with tube paints. I don't need the center to store a brush because I keep my brushes in a separate cloth case. I'm going to paint the green stems now. The colors I'm using are emerald green, permanent yellowish green, hooker's green light, phthalo blue greenish, phthalo green, into which I'm mixing some cobalt blue and also some azo yellow medium. I like to have a variety of greens that are yellowish greens and bluish greens whenever I'm painting a painting with lots of greens in it. Now it's time to paint the yellow tray. I'm using azo yellow light, and in the shadow parts of the yellow tray, I'll be using a mixture of azo yellow deep plus yellow ochre. Where the shadows get even darker, yellow takes on a greenish hue in the shadows, so I'm going to add some permanent green to the yellow to make the darker color. For the pink cushion, I'm using a wonderful color called Rose. Rose is slightly opaque and an absolutely gorgeous color on my palette. It's the one that looks like bubblegum pink. It has a different look than quinacridone rose, for instance, which is very transparent. I like to have both on my palette because I like to have a mixture of transparent and semi-transparent colors to work with. The cushion looks slightly opaque to me, and I don't want it to be as luminous as the flowers. For the gorgeous blue sofa, I started with cerulean blue, and while it was wet, I added Naples yellow to the top and lavender to the center, and also some phthalo blue greenish. Value creates dimension, and so does temperature. The top of the sofa, where it's flat, is slightly warmer and lighter, and the front is slightly cooler and darker. When I paint, I leave lots of bits of white paper showing in between my strokes of color. I do this simply because I like the way it looks. To me, it gives my work a little bit of sparkle. I've been working on a series of interiors recently. These are close-ups and vignettes, and also full views of rooms that are filled with interesting objects and furniture. I'm enjoying the challenge of painting these busy scenes. I also really enjoy painting textures. I don't try to paint the texture exactly as it is, but I try to come up with brushwork that mimics the texture in an impressionistic way. That is what I'm doing as I'm painting this wicker tray that the yellow tray and the book are sitting on. I want to paint it in a painterly way that gives the effect of detail. I'm painting the wall with a mixture of emerald green and permanent yellowish green. I'm being careful to not come too close to the flowers and leaving a little bit of a white halo around each one. I'm painting the picture frames with a mixture of yellow ochre and azo yellow deep. Later, I'll add detail with burnt sienna and burnt umber. Like all Impressionist painters, I love Monet's work, so I thought it would be fun to put a miniature painting of a lily pond behind the tulips. To the right and left, I added some of my own paintings, including a seascape of Maui, a seascape of Mexico, and a small Italian painting with red poppies and Italian cypress. One of my favorite things to do in these interior scenes is to paint the miniature paintings within the big painting. My paintings are sometimes a little busy, but I do enjoy painting all of the little details. I feel like that when I include every single little thing, that there's always something new to look at. The darks are the glue that holds your painting together. Very often in my watercolor painting process, I wait until the very end to add extra darks and accents to sort of pull everything together. My favorite colors to use to mix these darks are ultramarine blue, madder lake, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and mauve. These allow me to mix a colorful range of beautiful darks. I also have very often a tube of Rembrandt opaque white, because sometimes I like to use opaque white for highlights. It's nicer than gouache as it's not as harsh and not as cool, and blends beautifully with the other watercolors if you want to make a color look somewhat opaque, or if you just want to add a white highlight. A few more finishing touches before I'll call this painting complete. At this point, I'm not looking at color, I'm looking at value, and I need a little more contrast in my foreground flowers. I also think that the sofa, while the blue is very beautiful, is a bit too colorful, and it's competing slightly with the green in the stems of the tulips. I'm graying it down a bit. The very last thing I'll do before I call this painting complete is I'm going to get some Naples yellow, and I'm going to wash over some of the white specks on the pink sofa cushion just to warm it up ever so slightly. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this spectacular interior scene. Goodbye for now, and happy painting!